of May 24th, 2017. This is a regular meeting. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Coleman.
Present.
Mr. Nicely.
Present.
Ms. Riviera.
Here.
Ms. Van Gundy. Here. Councilman Rohr.
Here.
Vice Chairman Hatton.
Here.
Chairman Coe.
I'm both here and present. Approval of the motion summary of the Historic Preservation Commission meeting held on February 22nd, 2017. Have you all had an opportunity to read the motion summary, and are there any corrections or additions? Hearing none, I have a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Rohr, a second by Mr. Hatton. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Mr. Coleman.
Abstain.
Mr. Nicely.
Yes.
Ms. Riviera.
Yes.
Ms. Van Gundy. Abstain. Councilman Rohr.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Hatton.
Yes.
Chairman Coe.
Yes. I'd like to welcome our newest member to the commission. Stephanie Van Gundy has stepped forward to take the position of Mr. Kehoe, who had to step down. You want to say anything about yourself, or hello, or not, or?
Well, thank you, and I'm just looking forward to being a part of this commission and for our community. And I'm excited.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. The first item of regular business is 3A. That is application 2016-1725. This is a request by JTAC LLC for a certificate of appropriateness for a rear addition improvements at 18 and 20 West William Street, which is Zone B2 in the Central Business District and located in the transitional sub-district of the Downtown Historic District overlay. Diane, do we have a staff report?
Yes, we do. And as you had mentioned, the property is located at 18 and 20 West William Street. This is also known as the Collective, which is a hair salon. It is Zone B2, Central Business District, and it is located in the transitional sub-district, which is it's named transitional for the sake of our newest member, because it's meant to be that border between the commercial district and the residential. So it's allowing for that transition. And then here is the aerial photograph. And 18 and 20 West William Street started life in approximately 1865, 1866. It was constructed as a single-family residence. And there are 2 brick additions at the rear of the property. And approximately in the 1980s or 1970s or 1980s, the building was sectioned into 3 commercial units. And 3 separate street side entrances facing West William Street were created. And the owner had purchased the building in 1999. And the owner's name is Jack Kahayan, and he indicated he will be here this evening. He had invested his monies in the preservation of the building since its purchase. He's expanded his hair salon to encompass the entire first floor. He has done renovations to the interior, trying to retain some of the original elements of the building, such as flooring and connecting doors. The second floor, he renovated into a residential living unit. In 2005, he rebuilt the second floor balcony, which is pictured here, and also those front entry doors. And he has, as I said, since then, it has appeared before HPC on many occasions. In 2012, he did additional repairs to the front porch and performed extensive brick and masonry work to the building. And if everyone will recall, in 2015, the adjacent building at 14 West William, and you can see in the 2005 photo, you can see the former West End Grill. In 2015, it was fire damaged, condemned, and demolished. And as a result of that building being demolished, the east elevation of his building became re-exposed to the elements, and it hadn't been in over 100 years. And so once again, the owner was called upon to do extensive masonry work and also roof repair and a roof replacement to the east addition of the building. And then this is the finished product of the work that he did last year. Once that West End Grill was demolished, there were 4 window openings that were re-exposed. And prior to the construction of 14 West William in the late 1800s, the actual windows were removed. The window openings were still retained, and they were filled in with brick. And so the owner, as I said, as part of the masonry project, relayed the brick in the window openings and inset the bricks so you could clearly see those window openings. And when the owner was here in 2006 to receive approval for this east elevation masonry work, he was granted approval to demolish we were calling it the rear addition extension. And so this particular addition is a wood framed vinyl sided addition that was installed prior to the 1950s. It had replaced another addition that was once there, as evidenced, there's evidence on that brick wall of another roof that had been there at one time. And so the owner had wanted to appear before HPC today to discuss his final renovation plan of that north elevation brick wall, which will now be exposed because of the removal of this addition. So we'll concentrate on that aspect first. So this will be, this is of course the addition that will be demolished. This will be the masonry wall that will be exposed. And so this is the area here that we're talking about on the drawings. There will be extensive, again, more masonry restoration. He'll be hiring a mason who's experienced in working on National Register buildings. At the roof line where the old tin roof meets that brick wall, all of that flashing will be carefully removed. There is plaster. Plaster was applied over that masonry wall. So that exterior wall became the interior wall of the addition. And so that plaster will also be removed and any masonry repaired. There is currently an entry door opening that currently exists in that brick wall, which leads into the addition. And so when that addition is gone, that opening will have a new wood entry door that will match the entry doors on the front of the building. And once that door is installed, he will be installing a small shed-type umbrella awning that will have his business logo on it. And the color will, more than likely be the Kenny Bunkport green, which is the current green highlights on his building. And the closest samples of the umbrella fabric are illustrated there. It will either be basil or fern. And so the final selections will be discussed with city staff and with administrative approval from HPC chairman.
Could I interrupt just briefly? And could you tell me which door the awning is going to go over? There are two doors, one that will be newly uncovered and the other will be on the new construction.
Well, right. Both of those entry doors, right? I was concentrating on the exposed elevation wall right now. So both of these new entry doors, the one when this addition is removed, there is a door opening located approximately.
About 16 inches above your finger is the drawing of where the door will be.
Yes. And then this style of door will match the front doors.
And that will have an awning over it.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
And
But the
there'll be
other one won't?
another awning over the other door.
The other one gets an awning too.
Okay.
All right.
And then this door, these two doors will match the front doors.
And we don't have any specs for the awning?
No, not yet.
Okay.
But
So,
I'm sorry.
no, please continue. I don't want to interrupt.
Oh, I was going to say that the owner does understand, it will be a shed type awning and umbrella fabric with one of the two color choices. He wanted to wait until the entry doors were installed and painted so he could match it as closely as possible.
So maybe make that
Is
subject to administrative approval.
Yes.
Is
Correct.
that your report? I interrupted you. Is there more?
For this part, no, that's it for the demolition part. Okay, now the actual stair enclosure is the second part of his request. And this is the site drawing, which shows the enclosure in the rear. And so this is the existing stair area to be enclosed. And there will be new windows in that enclosure, and he wishes to repurpose the existing 2/2 windows. So when that enclosure goes on to the building, he'll be infilling these window openings, taking those windows and installing them on the enclosure.
Okay. I'm sorry, you're pointing at the screen, which isn't very helpful for us.
Yeah.
So can you maybe point, if the laser get up and point? I'm assuming like above that black car, it's those two windows. You can see about 1.5 of them.
These 4 windows.
Okay,
Yes.
great, thank you. We're gonna get you a laser pointer for Christmas. We used to have one.
It doesn't work
It-
on the TV.
Right.
It's a green light and it doesn't show up on
Yeah,
It just bounces.
Diane, it indicates in the packet that 3 of the 4 will be repurposed, and I see 2 of them on the east elevation. Where's the 3rd one repurposed to?
Well, the owner told me, even though there's 2 on the drawing, he wants to put 3 windows on that enclosure instead of 2.
and would they be 3 straight across the top, of the
Yes.
same plane then?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, and the enclosure will be 8 foot wide by 20 feet deep, and it will be constructed within the footprint of the existing building. And so it will be tucked into that interior courtyard area. And so this is the rear parking lot. This is the area where that wood frame addition was demolished. This is our existing brick. And then this is where the new enclosure will be. And then the proposed roof will be black asphalt shingles to match the rest of the building. There will be exterior wood grade siding with a 3.5 or 4 inch exposure. We mentioned about the entry doors. The new ones will match the front doors and it'll have an awning. He'll repurpose 3 of the 4 2-over-2 wood windows. The stair, landing, guardrail, and handrails will be constructed of a Trex material, which is an eco-friendly product made of recycled wood and recycled plastic. It's low maintenance and has a long life. And with the coloration of that product, it does come in many shades. And after the addition is painted, he was going to ask guidance for the selection of the coloration of that rear stairwell. Let's see. And lastly, there will be a security light that he wishes to install near the enclosure roof line. And so he did not want to punch into the existing brick of this addition. So he was thinking about putting it up in this area here. And then he would need to speak with the city planning department regarding the lighting requirements for parking lots. And here's the
Let the record show that the applicant just arrived.
You're here. So, and in regards to the paint colors of the rear addition, again, this would be copying the color scheme of the building. The base color would be the Chestertown buff, and then the trim would be the Montgomery white. And the owner is open to suggestions from HPC regarding materials or color selections. And that finishes the report.
Commission members have any questions for city staff?
Very detailed packet, as always. Thank you.
Yes, the applicant was very cooperative in, complying with the standards and color choices, materials, and so forth.
Would the applicant care to come forward and if you have any comments you want to make, identify yourself for the recording, please.
Jack Cahayan, owner of 1820 Collective and JTAC LLC, the holding company for the building. I'm just here to I want to get that done. Anyway, it seems like it'll be a good addition, and kind of solve the problem that I was having with talking to Jerry back when I got my staircase up the back. He really wanted it covered, and I ended up partially covering eventually, but the funds weren't there at the time either. So anyway, so looking forward to having the extra space in the back, and if you have any questions, suggestions, I'm always open. So
Commission members have any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I've got one on the wood siding. Is the intention that that'd be kind of a smooth siding, a smooth wood siding, as opposed to, there are some wood sidings that have kind of a raised relief or a grain to it.
Fake wood grain.
Fake wood graining, which I guess what I'm asking, do you have any problem with having it smooth, specifying that it's a smooth wood siding?
not at all. I mean, I can't think it would look better
I think
that way. So, but I mean, I purposely didn't get too detailed as far as that is concerned. I want to make sure that I'll often defer to what you guys think on that, because I want to make it look good and make it look like it goes together. I don't do architecture that much, so
Yeah, that's actually the only question I had.
yeah. No, I note that, and I'll make sure that it's not grained. And I'd like it to be, I mean, I guess it's material wise, I'd like to, I don't know what material is the best way to go with. One of the contractors I was talking with was wanted a vinyl type siding as opposed to hardy plank or wood. But I want it to look and have a feel that I don't want anything cheap looking. Like thinking about what I have on the back there now is horrid. So,
Right, the application calls out an exterior grade wood siding. So if you use one of the other man-made materials, you'll need to have that approved.
okay. So
It's a pretty small area,
mhm, so it shouldn't be that costly.
so the cost won't swing too much. Based on the exposure there, you're not going to have, when you're using lighter colors, you're not going to have a lot of paint fading.
Mhm.
Obviously, we would prefer, a wood siding, but we certainly have people who use the hardy plank or whatever the
I don't know if hardy
various
plank lasts
brands
as long.
are.
I don't think hardy plank is necessarily. I haven't seen it weather as well sometimes.
Well, they've had some issues with, I don't know if it's that brand name, but some of the others absorbing water and
Yeah.
delaminating. So wood's lasted 100+ years on your building as it is. So
Yeah.
I did have a question, and I couldn't find it real quick, but I was going to call it. I think you had called out on the roof addition, just to use a black architectural shingle.
To match the one on the other one. on the
Yeah.
other side.
I would encourage you to talk, and Roger may have a better eye than I do for the pitch of that,
Mhm.
but that pitch may not be steep enough for an asphalt shingle,
Oh,
which
okay.
will cause water leaks, ice damming, and a lot of
Okay.
other problems you'd rather not have.
No, absolutely.
That may be, it's more expensive up front, but that may be a good use for a metal roof if you want it to look nice. It's far enough up, you can't really see it. You
Mhm.
could probably do a rolled rubber roof. We have
Okay.
some challenges with edging that doesn't look tacky, but
Well,
just as a thought, that's a pretty shallow pitch, and what do they use? I don't remember. what
Well,
the-
I would add that the city code and the building enforcement officer will not allow the shingles to be used at less than 3 and 12
Okay,
pitch.
12
It's against the code.
Yeah,
So if you wanted to use shingles like that because it was important for aesthetics, you would put Ice Guard, which is a neoprene solid rubber. It's like putting a rubber roof down, and then you'd cover that with the shingles. But
I don't know if anyone would
you
see
can't
it.
even, you won't be able to see it from
Yeah.
anywhere around the building. So I would think a rubber roof would be a more practical solution, and then you just deal with the edges by putting the trim on in the way that they normally do that.
Okay.
I think this is basically an improvement on this building. I mean, that poor tacky rear addition that probably was built in the early part of the 20th century is pretty ugly, and
It keeps getting hit.
my observation is that there's really no foundation under it, and it's, I don't think it was intended to last this long, frankly.
Yeah.
And he's adding to the parking spaces available, and he's creating a safer stair, and the whole building will look better as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I
And-
agree with that. And I think just to tack on to that, as you look through the pack and you see all the things that have been done by the applicant over the years, I think it's safe to say you're probably the best friend that building's had in the last 100 years.
It's the labor of love, I guess.
Jack, you had talked about, obviously, the building's gotten hit. Now, I know you're going to have some parking there. I may not want to be the outside parker, maybe there'll be owner parking, but have you thought about bollards or anything to kind of either protect, because we certainly would hate to see the brick building get hit. But
No,
also maybe
I'll definitely want to have something on there. I don't know if we showed it on the multiple elevations, but I don't know if this one had it. Like, at one point, somebody was suggesting to put like a little wall extending out that way. I'm like, that's just gonna get hit anyway, and it might, we want it to grade down, so we'll have a little bit of a slope going towards the drain. Hopefully, like I said, get new drains, cutting out the foundation and getting good drainage off of the building. And maybe put is that, you say it bollard? A bollard like halfway the distance out, so nobody kind of comes and hits where my neighbor put things up all over and it's got chains on his place there. So I don't know. I got to put like at least one there and maybe one a little bit farther out there so that no one hits the cars. But so far, I haven't been hitting the cars. But they hit the building, they back up. And
Yeah.
But quite honestly, since the bar's gone, I don't have as many people.
Well, as it is now, the addition really serves as a crumple zone, so if you take that away, you'll lose that. So.
Yeah.
And
so-
then the parking plan, would be reviewed by the zoning administrator and the building official. And so all of those things could be taken into account. So,
And by doing that, will that make access to your neighbor? I know that's been an issue in the past. Will that improve maybe the access for the new restaurant that's going to get built in there at all, or no?
No, it wouldn't improve anything as far as access.
Because you still just have that narrow
Yeah,
strip there.
well, walking in between my cars through a lot. Because we pack it in there pretty good at times.
Mhm.
Yeah, the top of that, wonder if I could use any of the existing metal roofing that's on there and reuse that, or is that not something that gets?
Theoretically you could, but I'm sure your guy will tell you it'll cost you more
Okay.
than using new.
Mhm.
Since you can't see it, I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, rolled rubber is what they use on commercial
Mhm.
flat roofs. They,
Good.
contractors know how to do it. It's pretty straightforward stuff.
And we can talk to Jerry Warner, our chief building official, too, for.
So I have one clarification. I'm just getting it straight in my mind. I'm a little confused. Is on the east elevation, if we could flip back, what I see there are the two repurposed windows on the second floor of the east elevation.
Yeah.
I noticed on the application on page 8, it says that there are 4 existing windows, 3 of which are going to be repurposed. And so I just wanted to clarify,
Where's the third one?
yeah, where's the 3rd window, or if that's just a mistake.
I think it's a mistake because I think initially we were thinking about putting the window above the door.
Okay,
So there'd have been 3, and I think that would have been maybe a little overkill. And it would kind of look kind of funny to have a sole window there. So I thought just keep them on the east side there. So I think initially it was like 3 of the windows. I want to reuse whatever I have there. I bought them so far back, and they're good windows.
Sure.
So, and those 2 windows aren't really, they're not exactly like the ones on the diagram isn't like, doesn't have the 2 double hung windows with the little separation. So it's, it doesn't look the same, but we would be using those 2 top ones.
okay.
And a little bit more.
Yeah, right. So it'll look a little different, sure.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it'll look nicer. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that, thanks.
Ready to make a motion?
Sure. Okay, so, well, actually, I think in your notes, you were talking about the additional window, but it sounds like the applicant's not going to use that additional window. So
Are
you
are
just-
you going to use the 3rd window on the east elevation or not? I may.
I'm not. The diagram's more accurate than what the description was because
That's a little different.
Yeah,
No.
I apologize. I didn't notice that either.
All right. Well, I'll take a stab at it. I move to approve case number 2016-1725 with all staff recommendations and 2 additional conditions that the awnings on the back, over the back 2 entrances would be subject to administrative approval once you've picked out the design, the color, the style, etc. And another requirement would be that the wood siding or hardy plank would be a smooth siding, no fake wood grain relief.
Gotcha.
And that's it.
I'll second that.
A motion by Mr. Coleman, a second by Mr. Hatton. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Nicely,
Yes.
Ms. Riviera,
Yes.
Ms. Van Gundy,
Yes.
Councilman Rohr,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Hatton,
Yes.
Chairman Cook.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jack, for all that you've done for that building. Item 4 on the agenda is commission member comments and discussion. As earlier, I'd like to welcome Stephanie Van Gundy on the commission. Welcome.
Thank you.
Could we, if we haven't already done so, could we make sure that she has the notebook with the architectural standards and section 1190 and all that? Because those are really how we operate.
Yeah, Lance Schultz, our zoning administrator, indicated he did forward the orientation packet to Ms. Van Gundy.
Okay. Because it's important that we aren't just a board of people that want to promote our own ideas and design ideas and agenda. That's why we have printed architectural standards, and you need to be familiar with those. Are there any other commission comments or discussion?
I had one. I was at the city council meeting Monday, and during a budgetary item, it sort of flew by, so I didn't get all of it, and I was hoping maybe our council rep could provide some clarity. But Mr. Holman had mentioned funding in place, and they would be tearing down, this is where I didn't quite hear if it was the Gazette building or the house that the engineering staff is in right now to provide a parking lot. Okay. Could you give us maybe some insight on that, since we had not heard about that?
Not right now, no.
Okay, well, it was an open meeting, so. It sounds like funding is in place,
Yes.
if I understand it correctly, and that they've gotten some co-op type funding from another source, is that?
I'm really leery because we talked about that in executive session, so I'm not trying
Okay.
to blow you off. I'm just a little.
I mean, it was he-
What I consider not.
Yeah, he discussed it. Was there for the bike plan, so it kind of went out, hey, wait a minute. So,
Well, I can tell you, it pertains to that building. The
Okay.
building that- I don't even know what the history is, but it looks like an old house.
right,
At one point in time. So it pertains to that building and parking lot, I think is what the point is.
right. And that's what he had said during the meeting. I didn't know if you had any other,
But it was
Inside,
also
okay.
mentioned that it would have to come through this.
right,
as well, so.
okay.
And just for clarification, which building were we discussing?
Two down, so
Okay.
the old Gazette building
Okay.
is next door.
Right, right.
And then the engineering staff moved into that.
The city owns both of them.
Yeah,
That's right. Okay.
okay. That's all I had.
How are we coming with various signage and patio issues downtown?
The patio permit process went pretty well this year. We had 29 inquiries, and this would be sidewalk use permits for our full patios, for flower pots, for seating areas, and for merchandise. And so those seem to be the four major categories. And out of the 29, we have 25 that were issued. So that's an increase. And then we received another inquiry today from the new comic book store on 35 North Franklin. They wish to put a seating area in front of their shop.
They're going to serve comic books out on the city sidewalk?
Or perhaps reading, you know. So,
Is there a deadline for when they have to be renewed? So if you have an existing application,
the application letters will go out in January, February, and then we give an initial deadline of March 31st.
okay, since it's almost June, I was just curious since you had 4 that were still apparently open.
Right, they're either deciding to still, want to do the patio, or they received an application and they just haven't gotten all of their information back to us. It's really an open application cycle.
Right. But I guess I'm looking more for existing, right? So if you have an existing, I assume at some point you have to have a cutoff to when they have to renew.
Right, that's March 31st.
And has everyone renewed?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you said 4, I wasn't
It's-
clear
it's
if that was
the
new or
new, right.
existing. Okay.
Right, new folks. Mhm.
Signage issues?
Signage issues are blinking signs, which is still a phone call saying, please switch the switch to the off position. And the new businesses that have been coming in, they've been, very compliant with the sizing regulations and the colors and things like that. So.
Anything else?
I'd like to just add one comment. It occurred to me moments ago that this is the 6-year anniversary of my first actual meeting on this commission. 6 years, excuse me, 6
So you were
years.
expecting a present?
And I would like a present. But seriously, I just wanted to take the opportunity to say it's been a real honor serving with everybody and doing my part to make our city better. So thanks to all of you.
There you go.
And
There you go. You didn't think we'd
a
let that
7-month-old candy cane. Get this for the cameras. And it's wrapped. That means it's totally fresh.
You're real pressing.
I'm pretty sure I got a half-life of about 20 years.
That doesn't happen very often.
I'd like to know what's going on with 12 West with the spot, the empty spot.
Is that 14?
I know they're going through a lot of
We-
cost problems.
Yeah, and actually Dave Eflin, our planning director, and I are having a meeting with the owner, Dave DiStefano, tomorrow to see what type of plan, they are presenting. As you indicated, the budget is dictating the extent of the design. So, yeah, we're anxious to see what they are presenting. So,
I do know that in their restaurant, they have a 3D mock-up of what they're proposing. So if you happen to stop by, you can see it. It's
Oh.
interesting.
okay.
And the Flying Pig Ale House, that's moving
Yes.
along.
Yes.
A little
Mhm.
slower.
Mhm.
When I stuck my head in the door, they had completely gutted the entire space.
Oh, really?
And you would not believe how old that building was. Wow.
Oh, and Chairman, the selection, color selection of the awning fabric will be rust. So, yes, so we'll be able to get our administrative approval.
Excellent. Any other comments or discussion?
Less trouble with that little vestibule now that the school's out. With the.
Oh,
Olivina.
at Olivina?
You know, that little
The olive oil.
recessed area where people were
Oh,
vomiting.
well,
Other things.
They've put something up there.
I can tell you from my own investigation that their solution was to put up a gate perpendicular to Sandusky Street to just gate off the
The fake wall.
entry to the apartment.
So
There's an L-shaped wall and they just went straight back.
Which is what we discussed.
Well, it appears to have a dual cylinder lock on both sides. And so I don't know how it is that it complies with code,
No,
but
Right.
it didn't offend me aesthetically. It was a good solution aesthetically. I thought it responded to all of our concerns about not having obvious prison gates on Sandusky Street. But I don't know how it complies with the fire egress code, but that's not my business. I'm
isn't it
in the
only,
PC.
sorry, so isn't it only a half, like 3 feet high or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, Chairman, actually, the building owner is going to be appearing at HPC next month regarding that installation. And I just spoke with the chief building official this morning, where he and I are going to be going down and taking a look at that gate to make sure that it does comply with all of the applicable codes. We did mention to the building owner that that the locking mechanism that he has on there isn't a code. And so Jerry Warner will be assisting in coming up with a solution.
What I could see involved issues that didn't really, weren't aesthetic, and I didn't think were HPC issues, but.
And actually, the store owner and the building owner indicated to the planning staff that there has been quite a bit of reduction in activity. And so they're thinking with having the story put on the front page of the Gazette, and, thank you, and having the gate put up, they've seen a marked decrease in activity. So it has been helpful.
Anything else? Well, our next regular meeting should be on June 28th, 2017. And with that, I would ask for a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
In a second. We are adjourned. Motion by Mr. Coleman, second by Ms. Riviera.